Alright, what's going on everyone? Welcome to the capsule. Back another week. I'm back from India, and as you can tell because we have the red background, we're going to talk about Red Bull Dance Your Style World Finals in Mumbai, India. First of all, massive shout out to Red Bull UK, who were kind enough to extend the invite for me to come out to India. As you may have heard on the podcast with Kyron that we did, they extended the invite for me to come out to India and to basically just be at the World Finals, create some content, yes, experience the event and then talk about it. However, that does not mean that I am going to be holding back any honest thoughts about all of it. But I must say it was overall a pretty positive experience, I have to say. I'm going to try and do my best to talk you through the experience, through my thoughts. I'm hopefully not going to forget anything, but it is possible. So yeah, let's get into it and let's see what I forget. So first of all, it's been a while since I've been to India, about 20 years approximately. And it was really interesting and cool to be back there just as the city of Mumbai and just the country, you know, just to be there and experience it. It was really, really interesting, really different. As soon as I said I was going, every single person I've ever known in my entire life was hitting me up saying, oh, you're going to get sick and you need to be careful with the food and blah, blah, blah. And I am happy to say I didn't get sick the entire time. So there. I will say that, you know what, this is none of this is dance stuff, by the way, guys. I'm just telling you about India for now. But everyone was talking about the spice. Well, a lot of people were telling me about the food's so spicy. And I've been before, but like I said, it's been 20 years. I don't really remember so much. I was like 16 or 15. And so I was kind of like all the stuff I read online, what people were telling me was like, oh, the food's so spicy, the food's so spicy, the food's so spicy. And I went out there and at first I was a bit like paranoid about that. So I kind of like started off mild and worked my way up. And yes, it is spicy, but I eat fairly spicy in the UK. Like, to put it into perspective that everyone will kind of understand, I usually eat the hot at Nando's, right? And I'm not saying that's spicy. I'm just saying that's like what I would go to as like a normal day. I would go for the hot at Nando's. I think I've done the extra hot before and I didn't notice much different, but just as a habit, I go for hot. And that's kind of like I obviously recognize that it's spicy, but that's kind of normal taste for me. So what I think is, and here's my theory on the spiciness of Indian food. I think it's, if you eat spicy here or in London or wherever you are, that's like the norm out there. Everything is spicy. But it's when people will say like, oh, it's so spicy, be careful, blah, blah. I think that's like, you know, either the people that were telling me or the stuff I read online, because I looked up loads of like, you know, YouTube videos and blogs and whatever to kind of get some info before I left. And I think what it is like, the people that don't eat spicy at all, like they're just, Midwestern Americans or like people that are like living in Blackpool or something and just like they don't even when they get Indian takeaway, it's not spicy. They have fish and chips, they have burgers, whatever. It's not like they're not living on spicy food. Then when they go over there, yeah, I get that their normal curry, the default curry, like blows your head off. But I think if you're used to eating spicy and if you're any level of immigrant like that has like food that isn't English that you've grown up with, you're probably fine with the food out there, I reckon. Obviously, they probably have stuff that's like crazy spicy out there, but yeah, I think it's fine. if you eat spicy anyway, and kind of you're used to food that isn't bland. Um, it was also interesting for me because for those of you that don't know or haven't heard me speak about this on the pod before, my mum was born in Mumbai, so my mum's family are Indian. Um, I haven't really had that much like. Well, I have and I haven't. It's a very long story, and I don't know if now's the time to tell it. But I have had a lot of contact with my Indian side in terms of the family from there, and like I have like extended family and my godparents and stuff who are Indian. But having uh you know living here, and my mum came here when she was really young and grew up here. So did my grandparents when my mum was young, not when they were young. Um, but yeah, so I've only been to India the once. I hadn't really connected with the culture of it so much. And it is something I do want to explore because it's quite funny that it's like, again, this is kind of like a longer story for later, but like people's reaction when you say that you're half Indian, because like, because of the color of my skin, I don't count to a lot of people as someone from immigrant heritage or a minority or a global majority or whatever it's called now. Like, I just don't count, which is quite funny because people are so, intense about wanting to help people of different cultures and minorities or global majorities or whatever the right way of saying it is now. People want to do all these things and help, but then it's like, oh, but you have to look the part also, which is hilarious because like, and I'm not saying that skin color doesn't play a part, because of course it does. And I know that, the way that my skin color or how I present has made life easier for me in certain places than other people who are of the same heritage as me and might be Indian also, that have darker skin and are more recognizably Indian. However, it's a whole interesting conversation, which, like I said, is maybe one for another time. Friends of mine that know my opinions on it, and I've gone into depth with them, but it's like, if we're talking about, I don't know, people from, if we're putting a blanket thing on it, oh, people from different cultures or whatever, I fall under that umbrella. But then whether that's, in terms of helping in an artistic, with applications or whatever, whether that comes to like the way people react or the way people think that I have or haven't experienced racism or xenophobia, it's quite funny because a lot of times it's people who claim to be very, have that thing as a priority, of like not wanting to put people into boxes and allowing people to, express how they want, and everyone should deserve to have a voice. But then when I talk about certain things, it's like, oh no, but you don't, like, people have told me I haven't experienced certain things, which I have, and my family has, and I've had to deal with growing up. So yeah, it's just a whole intro. I know I'm being quite vague with it because it's like I want to just talk about it without necessarily getting into it too deeply right now. But like, it's a very interesting thing. My heritage is a very interesting thing to me, and people's reaction to my heritage is a very interesting thing to me, or non-reaction. And yeah, it's something I want to explore more. I think being in India helped me to have some thoughts on it, and to, I don't know, just it was a good place to do some thinking about my heritage, I think, and about my opinions on it and people's opinions on my heritage. So yeah, I don't know, it's a whole interesting thing. And I've spoken to a lot of people that are of mixed heritage that feel this kind of thing that I'm talking about. Not Indian enough over there, but not white enough for certain people. And it's like, it's very interesting how the nuances and sometimes the hypocrisy of how we talk about race, immigrants, heritage, all that type of stuff. But yeah, and racism and all that type of shit. Very interesting thing, which I will leave for later. That was just a little side thought. So the first few days I was in India, I kind of just hung out. I was in a place called Kalaba, which is down at the south of Mumbai. Um, just kind of hung out, walked around. I hung out with some friends. It was a really cool way to see the city. And I recommend doing that in any city. I had the same experience in Paris when I first started going. Like, I never went to Paris at the beginning. The first time I think it was the first time. I might have gone to like Disneyland Paris when I was a kid. But like the first times I went to Paris as an adult, I never went as a tourist. Like, I went to meet friends. And then when I met those friends, like, I was hanging out with them. I was like, we were having drinks down by the side of the river, like with a speaker, and like just hanging out there after events and stuff. And like, and or going to house parties and stuff like that. And it's like, that was such a cool way to be introduced to Paris, because you really see kind of the real Paris, like how the people in Paris would live, or at least like my demographic of friends, you know. And that was a cool way to experience India as well, and Mumbai specifically, because I didn't travel beyond Mumbai. But yeah, I don't know, like I was out late drinking until like 4 a.m, and like meeting random people out, or like, you know, going from one bar to another bar, like drunk on a rickshaw. Like, it's just a really cool way to like see the city, or like go to bars that I never would have found by myself, or coffee shops, or meet people. Like, if you hang out with people from there, it's it's a lot cooler way to experience a city. So I would 100% recommend trying to do that if ever you have the chance. Not only in India, but whenever you travel or go somewhere. Before this turns into a travel vlog, I will move on to the dance stuff, because there's a lot to get through. So, Dance Your Style World Finals, very, very interesting thing to go to be a part of. For those that don't know, Dance Your Style is the top styles event that Red Bull run. They have BC1, which is the breaking competition. 20 years or so it's been going. Dance Your Style is way less. I would, if I had to put my money, I'd say like 5 or 6 years it's been going total. I remember seeing the first one pop up. I think it was in Paris. And yeah, it's a crowd vote event. So two people dance, and the crowd will vote, and then they put through whoever the crowd vote for. It's always on popular music, and it's always a solo battle. So yeah, that's kind of what Dance Your Style is. The idea being that you come with your style and you dance your way or your style throughout the event. Yeah, and so the world, not every country, but in a lot of countries, they hold qualifiers, and sometimes qualifiers for those qualifiers. And then the winners all go to the world finals. They're at a different place every year. Always fancy, great locations, and huge world final event. It's a big, big deal. And I think at this point it's bigger than BC1 already. I think it's grown massively in terms of just scale of the event. There's, I want to say 48 countries that qualify winners. So the UK had a winner, that was Kyron, who we interviewed before we went, Keelan from Ireland, and then there was a bunch of people from all the other countries. On the first night of the camp, so it runs from Tuesday to Saturday, it's all between like 2 or 3 venues, and they're all within kind of short driving distance. On the first night, what they do is they have an event where they do the bracket reveal, which is who's going to battle who in the pre-finals. Now, to explain what the pre-finals are, you have 48, I believe, dancers that are qualified from all different countries across the world. They also have 8 wildcards who are guests, basically. Red Bull's name for guests is wildcards. They do the same in BC1 as well. So they pick 8 wildcards, and so then they have a ton of dances. Obviously, you can't have all of those dances straight away in the World Finals. It would take forever. So what they do is they do 2 qualifying battles, basically. They have the top 24. Those top 24 they battle against each other. They go to a top 12 and then a top 6. And then you have 3 winners from that top 6. Then they have secret judges who were never revealed. And those secret judges choose 2 people to come back. So 2 people who lost earlier on, similar to how Summer Dance do it, kind of. Like they allow one person to come back and it's someone that got through that chooses that person to come back. But in this, the secret judges choose 2 people to come back as like MVPs. So you have the 3, or let's say you have the top 6, and then you have an extra battle, which would make the top 8, who are like 2 people that did really well, but, or, were crowd favorites or whatever, but didn't win. They come back, and then the winner of that adds to the other 3, and then you've got 4 people that have qualified from that event. Hope you're with me so far. And then they have the same thing the next night. So you have 2 separate top 24s, and then 2 separate MVP battles, and an MVP wins out of that. So 3 of the people qualified through the battles, 1 qualified through being brought back. And the pre-finals are really cool, actually. So yeah, like I was saying, they have the bracket reveal that shows in the pre-finals who's going to battle each other. And then from there, basically from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there's a whole bunch of activities that are happening. You have like workshops, there's parties for the dancers, there's obviously they have food, like their breakfast and lunch and dinner and stuff like that. And there's just always something going on. It's actually really interesting, and I think it would be like, obviously Mumbai was quite far, obviously, for the crowd that we're used to, but also I think some of the events were open, some of them were closed, and it's like it was a mix. But I think the stuff that was open, it was really cool. It's a really cool camp, and it could turn into a like summer dance type of festival thing. I think there's some work to be done by Red Bull on the like engagement of the public, maybe. I don't know, because obviously the closest one we had was Frankfurt, which was last year. The year before that was South Africa. And I haven't been that up close and personal to see, like, if it happened in London, like, or I don't know, in Paris, like how much people would go there for it and be involved, even if they weren't in the World Finals, if that makes sense. But I think there's a lot of potential for this to grow into like a kind of festival thing, and to have loads of different events going on throughout the week before the World Finals. And I think that would kind of go a long way for the dance community. I'll get into that a bit later, but I think it would go a long way for the dance community if there were other things to do or to be involved in throughout the week. Or more things. There already are some things, but yeah, more things. So yeah, then you have the pre-finals we had it on the Wednesday and Thursday night. Actually really cool. I think at some point I need to get into my thoughts on like the whole concept of the battle, and maybe I'll do that after. But it was really nice to see. It was a slightly smaller, well, quite smaller venue than the World Finals, because the World Finals is a huge venue, but it was still pretty good sized battle. Like if that was a normal, I don't know exactly what the capacity was, but it's pretty decent sized. And the obviously the whole thing is about the crowd engagement. So the vibe is always sick in the venue. I think it becomes a bit different when you watch it on the live stream or you watch it in real life, because you're not feeling that same energy that you're feeling in the room. And then especially for dancers, we become a little bit more analytical because we're just watching the videos, and then that's when, you can start to pick holes in some of the rounds and stuff. But the it being in the room, it was like if it just was a good time, and it was like the performers are great. Like it's something you really miss from the battle scene is like really good performers. So yeah, it was amazing. I mean, there was definitely some highlights from the pre-finals, but I have to say that there was the winner from Kazakhstan was Rufina Liu, and she was fantastic, like unbelievable. When she first started her rounds, I think in the first round she maybe went second, and whoever went against her was doing great. And she kind of wasn't. A lot of dancers who are going to be good or are going to be really good performers are really animated while they're watching or as soon as they walk on stage. And she was kind of just chill, like she had a very straight face, just chilling, watching. And I was like, oh, I don't know if this person is going to be able to step up because this person that's going now is really good. And as soon as she came out, she like switched it on and it was crazy. Like this is one good thing about, especially the pre-finals. Because the world finals, you've already knocked some people out, But in the pre-finals, it's like you see some people who are real talents in performance and in dance as well, but in performance. And you don't necessarily get to see those people succeed in the battle scene all the time. There were some battlers in there, but there were also just some dancers who don't really battle, but are amazing performers. And when you see them in that sense, like Rufina Liu, it's crazy. Like she had the crowd. I don't know how the videos look because I haven't watched them back, but in the moment, like she had the crowd going crazy. Like she really blew up the room quite a few times, and yeah, just nailed some of the rounds, killed some of the songs, and just was like just an absolute pleasure to watch. She lost in a very close battle against T from India. And she was so good that we were eating backstage. And when she came backstage, there was a video I put on the Capsule story, but when she came backstage, as soon as she walked in the room, like so backstage is like all the dancers, all the staff, all the media people, all the content creators, that type of stuff. As soon as she walked backstage, everyone started clapping, and then everyone started going MVP, MVP. Yeah, it was. I mean, she didn't get brought back as an MVP because her battle was like she was in the top 3, so she literally would have had to stay on stage after her battle to do the MVP battle. I still would have gave it to her. Like, I think the crowd really wanted to see her again. I would have, maybe they did ask her. I would have at least asked her, like, I know you're tired, but do you want to stay on for this MVP battle? We need you to do it. And I think they may have chosen the MVPs like earlier before the top 6 even happened, but I would have been like, nah, like after the reaction she got, I would have been like, nah, she's staying on. Sorry, whoever we just told is going to be MVP. Yeah, no, she was amazing. And I would love to see people like that be more in the battle scene because she looked like she could actually dance as well. Like she was putting on a show, but she wasn't just putting on a show. Like there was some moments where I was like, oh, she can actually do some shit if she was entering a hip hop battle, So yeah, I would love to see people like that because it's like you combine that level of performance with like real skill, and it's like you're gonna absolutely destroy people. So yeah, so Rufina Liu was a highlight for me across both pre-finals. I mean, we have to shout out Kyron and Keelan. So Kyron, obviously the UK winner, Keelan, the Irish winner. Both did really, really good. Really like did their best. And I don't think there's anything either of them could have done to progress further than they did, if you know what I mean. They really pulled out everything, went hard. They both just had hard opponents. Like Kyron had, I think a guy from Belgium first round, and he's just good, man. Like Kyron had some really, really strong. It was like one of the strongest battles in that first top 24. He had some really good, rounds, really did the right stuff at the right time. There's not really, like, if I'm putting myself in like coach mode, there's not really much else I would have told him to do. That from seeing his dance a bit more now and like seeing the battle, I'm like, you kind of did what you could, you know, like short of levitating. Like, I don't know what else you could have added. And I think that's sometimes the thing. It's like you can always do better and you could always have beaten someone, but it's like you have to understand the difference between like, yeah, okay, if you went and trained for the next 3 years and came back, you could have beaten him. But like based on who you were at that time in that moment, like you did a great job, you know? So it's not like, yeah, like I said, with Kyron, there's not much else he could have done. Keelan got through the first round and then battled T from India in the second round. And it's like, it's going to be really difficult to beat that guy in his hometown. I mean, I have to also shout out T because he was actually dope all the way through. There's T and there's another guy. I'm going to check his name, but I'm pretty sure it's Pradeep. I'm probably pronouncing that terribly. Pradeep. Yeah, Pradeep. That's how you say that. So, like, Pradeep was in the first pre-final and he was sick. Really, really dope dancer. I think, if anything, he was more of a battle dancer than a dance your style dancer, if that makes sense. Like, he's just a solid hip-hop dancer. Really cool style, really good understanding of hip-hop, really great shit. I think he somewhat got unlucky, not unlucky, but this is Pradeep, he's almost like too good of a battler for that competition. Like he didn't pull out any, like, I don't know, like big like not cheesy, but like, you know, those type of moments that like get the crowd cheering, or he didn't do the little, I don't know, like gimmicky things. He just did some solid dance rounds, and I think if he was being judged by judges, he would have done a lot better than by the crowd, because obviously you have to factor in that the crowd don't really know, or they're not judging fairly, you know, basically. They're just kind of going for what they feel. T, on the other hand, is also a solid dancer, but he played the dance your style game, and he like pulled out all the stops. He did some really clever things. So, for example, this is one thing I'm going to talk more about. I might make a whole video about dance your style and my opinion on how to do well in dance your style. Disclaimer being, I probably can't do well in dance your style, but I think I could coach someone to do well in dance your style. I think I understand what works and what doesn't. But one thing that, for example, that T did against Rafina Liu, which I think worked really well, is like she went second. So the battle was finished in the second round. She did her second round. And as it was finishing, he did like a big Vogue dip, even though it wasn't his round. Like as she finished, it was like 3, 2, 1. He did the dip. And it was like on beat and it was the right moment or whatever. And everyone went crazy for it. And it's like, the thing with a judge is, if I'm judging that battle, I'm almost like, you know, in court when they're like, discount that from the record. Like, even if I'm like, that was cool and he stole the shine from her right at the end of her round, I'm almost like discounting it because it's not part of your round. If it had affected her or like in a battle tactics way, okay, cool. But I'm not adding that as points to him necessarily because it's not part of the round. However, the crowd don't have that type of like understanding of judging, or, you know, that type of, I guess, integrity. So they're just going, oh, I like that. Like at the end of that battle, they're going, I like that guy T. Part of why they like him is because of that way he like stole her shine at the end of the round. But that's not necessarily like fair, but that's all the crowd remember. They're like, oh, he's dope. They're just looking at who did I like the best. And that's like part of one of the things that you can do in this competition, and that's what T did a lot of, is like playing the game and understanding that it's a crowd judged thing, and everything that you do contributes to the crowd liking you or not liking you, you know. So yeah, I think, yeah, he was dope, so shout out to him as well. I mean, there was a lot of really good people. It's a whole different ball game, dance your style. It's a whole different thing. I'll come back to my thoughts on that, but let's talk more about the week. So you have the two pre-finals, you decide who's going through, and then in the days you have like some workshops, some other stuff. Then on the Friday, they had the battle day. So this was an interesting day because the world finals is on the Saturday and the pre-finals are Wednesday and Thursday. So then they have a battle day, which is on the Friday, which is almost like a break from the Dance Your Style format. They had, all right, let me see if I remember everything they had. They had 2v2 hip hop. They had a Bhangra battle. They had Your House is Whack, which is basically whacking and house 2v2. And then they had the builder team. Now, the builder team thing was they have 4 captains, and those captains chose dancers from the pre-finals. So out of those 48 dancers that had qualified, the 4 captains were allowed to choose 4 dancers each. So 16 of those dancers got chosen for the builder team battle. And they did a crew battle. And it was, semi-finals and then a final straight in. So the 2v2 hip hop was really sick. I really enjoyed that. The DJs did a good job. They had judges for this, so it was like a properly judged battle. All of the battles were like properly judged battles. They had the prelims earlier on in the week, and then they went straight into the battles. There was 2 guys from India. I believe they're both called Rahul. I don't know how to pronounce that. But they were in the top. I think they passed through the top 8 and then got to the semis maybe. But they were really fucking dope. Like, really good. And it was really interesting because it made me think a lot about the way that we tend to see a lot of these countries that like we don't have contact with in Europe and America. And because like I think that's like where we're a lot in contact with each other. A lot of Europe is easy to travel around, and we look to America obviously because they invented a lot of this stuff. Outside of that, I think we have this for people that don't travel, let's say that, because there are a lot of European dancers that travel and know about these people. But like for people that don't travel, I think we assume that because we don't see these dancers in the big battles as much, like in Just a Boo or Summer Dance or whatever, we think that like they don't have the level as Europe or whatever, or like they're not, like we look at MT Pop from Vietnam as like a anomaly, or like, you see these 1 or 2 dancers from these countries, you think, oh, they're the only ones that are good in that country. But I think the truth of it is like some of these countries have really fucking good hip hop or dance scenes in general, or battle scenes. And a lot of the battle scene, whether you like it or not, whether you agree or not, is somewhat like politics, in the sense that if you're a big name, it's not only because you've won a lot, it's because of your popularity. It's because you've been invited as a guest, as a judge. People like watching your videos, etc., etc. And you can get that by traveling a lot. So the people that can afford to travel around loads and loads of battles and constantly be seen have a higher chance of being big names, and then therefore we set the standard. But it's not the biggest names are not the best dancers, they're just the most popular dancers. Sometimes it correlates and they are also the best dancers, Majid being one of them. I don't think there's a lot of people on the planet who I have beaten Majid at the moment. But like if we take it down a notch and we say that mid-level, there are a lot, like these guys from India, I hope they travel and come over here at some point, because those 2 would smoke people over here. Not everyone, of course. Like I still, the people who are the big dogs in Europe, I think would still take them out. But they're really good, and it's like I wish more people saw, or at least more people over this side saw those type of people. And also, I wish I could travel. Next time if I go back out to India, I want to connect more with the battle scene, because if that's like a small portion of their battle scene, I really want, like, you know, I saw Pradeep, these two guys in the 2v2 hip hop. There was another two, a guy and a girl who paired up in the hip hop, and who were sick as well. They were also from India. And it's just really interesting to see. And like, yeah, some of these scenes have really good dancers. And it's just interesting that it's like, even though social media and YouTube have made the world a lot smaller, there's still a lot of unknown killers, let's say, like that we might not know, or they might not know over here. But yeah, anyway, they were dope is what I was going to say. And then, yeah, you had James and Geo who won, and then Dead Homies and Prada Zombie, spoken about them on here before. I ended up linking up with them, doing a video, which was sick. Those are really cool guys. They were in the 2v2, so it was some good battles. Crybaby and Fleur were in there. Yeah, some really good dancers and good battles, good music. You really see the difference when it comes to like judged battles. Like, it was really interesting, like seeing it from like the pre-final on Thursday and then on the battle day on Friday, you know, seeing, oh, this is like, there is a shift in the energy, in the dancing, in the way people are doing it. And there were some people that killed it in the pre-finals that didn't do well in the actual battles at all. And there were some people that did well in both. Yeah, the Bangra battle was sick in the sense that like the vibe, it was like, I don't know, being in South Africa and there being like an Afro battle or something, you know, like, or being in, I don't know, wherever, but like in India with the music and stuff, and like the people going off, or even the crowd were like going off with songs that I obviously didn't know. That was a really cool vibe. And the house and whacking battle was really cool as well. Obviously, always good music with that. Frankie and Clara judged, which was cool. And yeah, that was a really nice battle as well. The Builder team battle was interesting. And here is why. So you have the 4 captains, and for each of them had 4 dancers who are from the pre-finals. Now, the people from the pre-finals are all Dance Your Style winners. So they're not in Mumbai because of their skill at battling. Bear with me. That's not an insult. They're in Mumbai at the World Finals because of their skill at getting crowds on their side. And I'm still going to get into the differences and the format of Dance Your Style. But when you have these people that are selected from that and then you put them into a battle setting, it's fine on the Dance Your Style stage because even though it's a battle format, it's quite self-explanatory. You go, then I go, and then the DJ will play one song for each of us, like one song for each round, and we both dance to it. And the host will tell us when to switch. The host will tell us when to start, when to stop, right? Even in that, there's some things that, like in the Dance Your Style stage, I could tell that they weren't battlers, some of them, because of things they weren't doing or weren't taking advantage of. Now, when we get to the crew battles are not so straightforward, okay? B-boys and B-girls are the best at them. A lot of the other styles are getting there. There were some good crew battles in KOD a while back, but it's still a skill in itself to do a crew battle well. And the breaking crews that can do crew battles better than the other breaking crews do better in them. The thing is with a crew battle is like you have 10, 20 minutes to just go, right? That's the first thing. And that's the first thing that I could see the dancers didn't get necessarily, because it's like one dancer went, then the other dancer went, and then they were like looking at the DJ like, okay, change the song then. And it's like, it doesn't quite work like that in crew battles. Like it's not one round, one song, like you would in most styles. It's like the DJ just plays through and you go back, forth. he's not looking like that. So the dancers were already like kind of looking at the DJ like, hey, change the song. And the DJ was like, no, like just like the DJ is like Just a Kid. Shout out to Just a Kid. He's dope. Really nice guy. Really sick DJ. Had some bangers in the battle day. But, you know, he's looking at them like, dance. What do you want from me? And it's like, they didn't realize that this was a slightly different format, you know, and I guess it wasn't necessarily explained to them. Or maybe it just didn't in the moment. They got too into the heat of the moment. Also the other thing that they were doing is like every round was so long because it was like one dancer would go, then another dancer would from the same team would go, then a routine would start and they'd do a long routine, and then that would finish with another dancer going from their team, and then maybe a fourth dancer would even go. And it's like, and they would do like full rounds as well. It's not like breakers where you're doing quick, 20-second rounds. So they became so long before it got to switch to the other team. And I guess if you're not putting like rules on it, like that's a strategy, but I don't think it was done as a strategy. I think it was just like people were like, oh no, my turn, I want to go. And it's also like the experience in battling. If you have experience in battling, you know also when to step back. You know when it's like, oh, this is a funk song and there's a popper or a locker, let them handle it and I'll just support, and then I'll wait my turn for when my style comes on. But I think with this, especially with dancers that are not necessarily, some of the dancer style winners are not specialists in any one style. They're good at understanding all types of music and performing. That's what they just did the day before or whatever. They picked like whatever the music was that came on, they reacted to it. So all of them in the team are going, oh, I can take this song. And it's like, yeah, you can, but you shouldn't. Like, just let the other person. And especially like, there's some people in there that I know are specialists. Like you had Volt in there who's a popping specialist, and it's like a popping song comes on and like 2 or 3 other people went in his team before he did. It's like, can you let the popping specialist go? Like just be effective and then let the other team go. I think the other thing is when you have, like, you can have long rounds or you can have more short rounds. And I think you might be better off having more short rounds in a battle context because now you have things to react to. You can put pressure on the other team. When you're going for like a super long round, they have all the time in the world to plan and to decide what they're going to do and to think about their rounds. If you're going short, snappy rounds, they just have to react and they have to do something now because you finished your round. Yeah, there's just loads. I don't know if B-boys or B-girls would disagree with me on this, but like, I think you're better off doing like short, quick rounds. If you're going to do a routine or a commando, make it short and sweet and effective. It's not the same as choreographing a routine for like a video or something where you want to tell a whole story. It's like battle routines are like short, sweet, to the point. As soon as it starts to like flatline, you're done. Like when you're choreographing battle routines, I actually want to do a workshop on like 2v2 battle technique and like connection, but routines and choreography as well, because I think a lot of people get it wrong, especially in the top style scene. It's like they're going forever and they're doing like, it's just like a basic hip hop steps. Like there's no point in this routine existing. Like one of you could have done these hip hop steps by themselves. You're not adding anything because 2 of you are doing them really. Like you're adding like 1%. It's nothing really. So you got to make it short, sweet, exciting, impactful. You've got to make it visible from all 4 sides. Like people are standing next to each other doing routines, especially like, it's sometimes in the 2v2 as well. And it's like, we can't see, if I'm on your side, I can't see what you're doing. Neither can the judges. And that's more important with this. Your opponents can see it, but that's your opponents and that front crowd, which brings me back to another issue with the battle teams is they were like getting hyped and like crowding around the person dancing, and it's like, guys, like no one can see the person dancing now. The judges sure as shit can't see them. I'm on the front and I can't see them. Maybe your opponents can, but even audience behind your opponents can't see because you've got 5 dancers standing in front. So there's 5 dancers standing in front, then a dancer being crowded around by another 4 dancers. It's like, you got to know when to step back and like when someone's doing a solo, either you're coming in very like precisely to emphasize something in their round, you know, to like, I don't know, you're going to point at their chest when they do a hit or something like that. And then get out and get back and let the audience see. Like even some battlers will like crouch to watch their partner or in a crew battle just so because they really want everyone to be able to see. And yeah, it's just these things where you could tell that these people hadn't done a lot of battles. So I think the builder team thing is a cool idea on paper. And in practice, it was cool as well. There was some nice rounds, some good hype. It was a nice break from the dance your style thing. It was something different. It was cool to see those dancers like come back. But I think if it is to become like a really big thing, here's my suggestions. Either you make it an open crew battle, which would be sick for the dance scene because we don't have any. We had KOD was like the biggest crew battle, right? For top style, for the top style stuff. But like crew battles aren't prevalent anymore, and it's not because people don't want them. It's just because it's hard to sustain them, and it takes time to build up because people need to know it's going to be consistent before they start building a crew and working on routines and stuff. It's a lot of investment for something that may only happen once, you know? So people are more like 1v1 battles are always better. 2v2 battles are a little bit harder. 3v3 battles are much harder. No one really does 4v4. That was KOD's thing. And then no one does 5-on-5 besides breaking battles, right? And I think we really need them in the scene. They're really good. They're exciting to watch when they're done right. And they're really dope. So what I think could be a good idea is to make the world finals, the builder team thing, an open crew battle. So anyone can enter, do a prelim. There's enough time throughout the week to run prelims. I know it means like keeping judges on, but I think it could all work out without adding that much cost. Make it an open thing and have the 4 builder teams as wildcards or as guests. So let's say you do prelims and you qualify another 4 crews and then you go top 8 against them. I also think either that or I think that's the best option, but regardless of whether you do that, I think there needs to be a quick explainer video, maybe. Could be that. It doesn't have to be like a whole brochure, but like an explainer video that's played for the dancers in the builder team to explain kind of the rules of engagement of a crew battle. In the same way that you know, when you go go-karting, you get a video played at the beginning. It tells you all about the health and safety shit. I think you should do that for the builder team battlers and potentially the other ones, although that's a lot easier, like the houses, your house is whack and the 2v2 hip hop, because that's kind of like 1-2 back and forth. And a lot of those dancers look like they knew what they were doing. I guess to pass prelims in a 2v2 hip hop, like you kind of must be decent. But in the builder team, obviously you're selected in there, so you might not have any. There was some people in there. There was like 1 or 2 dancers. I was like, I don't even think you've been in you've definitely never been in a crew battle before. You may have never done a battle outside of Dance Your Style, but I don't know. So I think, that's what I would do. I would make it an open thing because I think it would be dope. I think, you know, if they keep these other battles, you know, the 2v2 hip hop as an open thing, if they keep the Your House is Whack as an open thing and have prelims, you know, I think it turns into quite a cool week with like lots of different aspects. I don't know if they're going to keep the Bhangra one outside of India. But yeah, I think, you know, it's quite a cool week when you have all these different things. The battle day was a little bit long, I have to say. You had like I said, you had 4, the hip hop, Bhangra, Your House is Whack, builder team, all in the same evening. It started at 4, I want to say, and finished at like 10. So it was quite a while. I mean, the venue was dope. So it was comfortable, if that makes sense. And you were able to like break out, go get food, go get drinks. Like you were able to go sit down. There was like things to do. So in the sense of like keeping the audience satisfied, it definitely wasn't like, oh, this event is long. Like I was having a great time just being there. You know, there's drinks, there's food, whatever. But in terms of like the schedule or the program, it was a bit long, I think. You could have maybe split that up. Like the thing with, I mean, who am I to rearrange their whole week? But I would. That's what this podcast is about, guys. I would rearrange a week. It was like it started on Tuesday, right? If you start on Monday, and then you have like a welcome. If you start on Monday and you have the welcome day Monday, and then you have pre-finals Tuesday, Wednesday. Then you have Thursday, Friday, like battle days and like loads of different activities and stuff happening on the Thursday and then the Friday. And then the Sunday you have that. I think that would, for me, make a bit more sense. Or, I don't know. I think it just felt a little bit long. I felt like it could have been split up a little bit more, especially with a whole week of events. But it wasn't the end of the world. It was a long day, but I've been to way worse events. Like I'm just picky. I'm being picky because it's such a high level, well executed event that I'm just being picky in like how I would make it better. Like if that was any other event, I would be like, I mean, it was what it was because I don't expect so much of the organization team, I guess, if that makes sense. But with them, I was like, I'm just being picky. And so but overall the battle day was really cool. I mean, there was prizes for all the winners. They the DJs were dope. They had judges like good high, like the hip hop judges was like Majid, Kyoka, and Diablo. So it's like, I mean, obviously Red Bull dancers, but it's like that's a high level judging panel, even if that was fucking Summer Dance. And then, so let's get on to the World Finals. So, first of all, the venue was huge. It was sold out. I'm pretty sure I saw the tickets were sold out, but it was pretty full. If it wasn't sold out, it was still pretty damn full. The vibe was sick. Really nicely laid out venue. You had this kind of like triangular, or like it's like the square, but rather than having the square so that you're along one of the sides, you're at the tip of it turned into a diamond basically, the way it was oriented. And you had the people, obviously the dancers in each thing, and then all the dancers and content creators and whatever were on stage at the back, which was really cool because they like hype up the event. And the dancers, which you see from some of the clips, how good a job they did. The only thing I maybe would have changed about the audience layout is like, it would be cool to have some audience like up against the stage as well. Then you have all four sides, you have people, and that would have maybe added to the hype, because the way they had it was like any kind of normal event venue is like you have the stage and then there's a bit of a gap and then the seats start from there. So on the stage, the dancers were like right up in there, but that was only 2 of the 4 sides. The other 2 had the gap before the audience started, and you maybe could have had like a standing section first and then started the seats raised up after that. I don't know also logistically if that was possible with the venue. Maybe it wasn't possible. Again, just being picky. And yeah, they did a great job of making the program happen. You know, when I went to Beyond Doubt, which was a similar sized venue and a similar sized event, I think, maybe not as big. I don't know, it was big. But I felt like it was a little bit short. There wasn't any showcases or anything like that at Beyond Doubt. They had one at the beginning, then it just was the battles, and then it was done. And they did judge demos as well. But with this, they did a cool job of like, obviously you have the hosts and stuff do their thing, but then you have like showcases in between a lot of the rounds. They had like videos. That was so cool. Shout out to Mini Boy, because he's just the fucking best. Like, but I think it was from the semis, They must have filmed videos with all 16 of the dancers, I guess, because when it got to the semis, before the battle, they played these little videos of each dancer, like talking about themselves and their hopes and dreams, and showing some videos of them freestyling. It was like a little, a little mini, not documentary, but you know what I mean, like a little mini feature on each dancer in the semis before the battles, which was really sick. Actually, it's almost like a boxing thing, kind of. You know, you get a little hype before they come out. And what else did they have? Obviously, they have their their drinks and food in the venue. Jimmy Udat hosted the pre-finals with a lady from India. I don't know exactly what she does or what her name is, but they were great in the pre-finals. The hosts for the world finals were both from India. I would have preferred Jimmy to do the world finals, to be honest. However, I do get that they wanted, like, Indian people or Indian kind of recognizable faces to be on the stage. I think the only thing is like this, there is a lot to being a battle host and a battle DJ, which we're going to talk about in a second. A battle host and a battle DJ, and when you don't have experience, there's little tiny things that might seem tiny on paper, but in the moment it really jars the event. And there was a few moments of that from the hosts and from the DJ. Although like I said, I get why they were given the shot. Even the DJ Spin Doctor is from India, and by all accounts is a good DJ, but in the battle context, I don't know that he's a battle DJ off the top of my head, or I don't think he is a battle DJ, because there was some things that he was doing which it did, especially in the pre-finals. I think it worked for the world finals a bit better, but there was moments of, like, one thing that like DJs will do a lot that we don't even notice that they do is, like, the host will say 3, 2, 1 to end someone's round, but the DJ will usually leave it to the end of the 8 count. So it'll be like 3, 2, 1, dun dun cat, dun 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 cat, and then they'll change the song, because we know that, like, a dancer will kind of, even though they know it's the end of their round and the other person knows they're about to start, they'll want to finish off whatever move they're doing, or finish off the section, and end it on an 8 count. That's usually how we like to phrase things, right? And the DJ was like, sometimes it would be like 3, 2, and he'd change a song on 2, and it's like kind of, yeah, sure, but also it's just those little things that, like, it doesn't make things worse, but it definitely doesn't make things better. It just jars a little bit. That, like, the dancer's halfway through something and you cut them off, and they're like, okay, cool. And similarly, like with the host, there was like moments when they would say things or whatever that, I don't know if you hear it on the live stream as much, but that wasn't like perfect. And I get it. It's always a balance between someone who knows the format really well, but isn't maybe as good of a host or a presenter or as recognizable of a face as maybe they were. But I think one of each would be good. If you had an Indian, like, celebrity or host or whatever, and then Jimmy to work together, which is kind of what they had in the pre-finals, I would have kept that format for the world finals just to ensure it worked super smoothly, because the host is so important. They really make sure that the event runs smoothly and the dancers can do their best. People overlook the host, I think, but it's a really important job. And then the DJ for the world finals was a lot better with some of the way he spun. Okay, so here's my thing with Dance Your Style. It's obviously, I know why it's done the way it's done. I personally, and I don't know how many other people feel like this, I would enjoy Dance Your Style as a whole more if the music that they played was not only popular music, but like popular, good music that we like the people that are in the competition like. The way it was done, there was a lot of stuff, especially in the world finals, like ABBA or, I don't know, these type of things. And obviously there's a good reason that Dance Your Style has grown so big in like 5 or 6 years. It's because of the connection with music. Like that clip of the D Soraki from 2 years ago, I want to say, where he's dancing to I'm Coming Out. That's not, it's not such a big clip only because of how good his dancing in it. It's because of that song. It's because people hear that song and they go, oh, I love that song. And then there's someone dancing to it. They go, oh, amazing. Like they're dancing to a song that I love, which is how all of this kind of started. It was like in clubs, we were dancing to songs that we all knew. And that's what the draw of dance was. But that's what makes these clips go viral. That's what makes Dance Your Style so popular. Is that all generations hear songs that they like throughout the day. I personally would think, like, I would love Dance Your Style more if it was like all the songs were like, I'm so down for the popular music thing. I think it's something that's necessary, and I think we need to bring that back into the battle scene a bit more. However, not like ABBA. You know, it's like if there was some songs that were like actual bangers, then yeah, I'm trying to think of examples now, but like there's so many that are like good bangers from, like, there's some Anderson .Paak songs that are like actual, like that have been played in battles, you know. And yeah, just like popular music, but yeah, that we actually want to dance to, and that people, you know, our generation like. That would be really cool. And I think it would gain a bit more of it would gain more authenticity points, I guess, because I understand that the audience want what they want, and you want to have the biggest audience possible. However, the people in the battles are of a similar demographic. There's a few outliers here and there, but the people in the battles are not dancing to ABBA at home when they're training, right? They might be dancing to Drake, Kendrick Lamar, ASAP Rocky. They might even be dancing to like Kehlani. They might even be dancing to like, who else? Like these type of artists who are popular, but not like necessarily popular with all generations. And so I don't know. It, obviously, Dance Your Style, they want to grow the audience as big as they can, and with an audience that big is why it's so possible to fly all these people out to India, to have 48 winners from across the world, to have all these judges, to have an amazing event. Basically, that's why they can do it, is because they have such an audience that want to consume this event. I wonder if there's a possibility to balance that with a little bit more authenticity points, and like for us to come away from, like, let's say next year's world final, be like, yo, the music was sick all the way through. Like, that would be really cool. And I know it's easier said than done, because also they have to license the tracks for the live stream and stuff. There's so much that goes into, you know, the music for Dance Your Style to get this popular music stuff. But I'm just, you know, blue sky, wishful thinking. I would love for it to be like the people in the battles were like, holy shit, like all of those songs were sick. Like there was a few good songs in there, but like I said, a few, not the majority were not like ones that anyone is dancing to outside of the Dance Your Style World Finals. Do you know what I mean? Which is fine. It's not necessarily a negative thing. It just, I would prefer it that way. So the other thing is the format. So this is something that is interesting, right? The format of Dance Your Style. So Dance Your Style is like simultaneously not at all what we do, coming from a battle perspective. It's simultaneously not at all what we do, but also the purest form of what we do. So if you think back to the origin of dance battles, there were never, from my understanding, there were never judges. There were never people at the very, very, very inception of this shit, of hip hop culture. There were never people that was chosen and paid to sit and point their hands and judge. It was like the battles, I assume from my knowledge, would start in like parties, in cyphers, and it would be an exchange between the two dancers in front of a crowd. Dance Your Style does tap into that pure form of dance battles, right? It's like you guys dance, the crowd decides who wins. Now, the hard thing is when you have no stakes, for your battle in a cypher, in a club, whatever, and you don't have judges, it's fine because you can stick to your authentic movement, your authentic technique, your layered and deep understanding of music, of the style that you do. And if the crowd don't quite get it, it's okay because they're allowed to see it, but it's more for the person. Like the whole point of a battle is it's for you. Like if my opponent understands that he got smoked, it's okay that the crowd didn't quite get that he got smoked, right? Obviously, if the crowd are on my side, it's way better. When it comes to Dance Your Style, it's not so much about the opponent because the crowd are deciding with big stakes. So the crowd are deciding with money and prizes and whatever on the line. And obviously the further you go, the more exposure you get on the stage and on the stream, etc. So now it turns from me dancing at you for you to understand that you lost into you just happen to be the person I'm competing against, but this is for the crowd because that's who I really care about. And we see that from almost everyone on that stage, which isn't by itself the worst thing in the world, but it starts to like add up and contribute to some things that I think, not that it's negative necessarily, but could put some people off Dance Your Style, but also as dancers, I mean. Yeah, it changes the whole format of what the thing is. And I think if you think of Dance Your Style as a dance battle in the same way that we do dance battles in the underground scene, you're gonna kind of be disappointed with what you're looking at because you're used to analyzing and seeing the depth and the layers and the technique that the dancers have put in for the judges, which now as audience members in the underground battle scene, which is a good thing and a bad thing, we all kind of become judges in a way. Sometimes it's a bad thing because it's like, A, not all of us are qualified to be judges and that's why we're not all judges. And B, it's different when you're not in the moment in that seat. If you're just casually watching and then you say, he got robbed. It's like, yeah, but you weren't focused in the same way the judge was. Anyway, but we do all get into this habit of watching battles in the same way a judge would watch battles. I found myself doing it at Dance Your Style. And when you watch Dance Your Style in the way that a dance battle judge would watch Dance Your Style, it kind of falls apart because you start to see like, this structure isn't right. This technique, he's adding this. The whacking technique is not good. The locking technique is not good. Whatever. You start to break down these things. When you let go of that completely and understand it for what it is, it becomes a lot more enjoyable. Dance Your Style is not, and I think I've said this before, but Dance Your Style is not a battle to see who is the best dancer. If we look at what it says on the tin, Dance Your Style is who can get the crowd to vote for them, okay? The crowd are not they're not given any rule book. They're not given any rules. They're not given any briefing. They're just a crowd that showed up, right? So whether you're doing dance techniques and all of these things to get the crowd on your side, or whether you're just standing there making them laugh and doing silly moves or doing a backflip, it doesn't make any difference to a crowd as a whole. Maybe individual members of it will, but as a whole, whoever is more entertaining, full stop, is going to get the vote. And that's what Dance Your Style is. And Dance Your Style actually doesn't pretend to be anything but that. It's us that project that onto Dance Your Style sometimes. People look at Dance Your Style and see that it's a battle in the format and go, oh, well, but the dancers aren't doing the technique and the dancers aren't doing this and they're not doing this. But nowhere on Dance Your Style does it say that you have to do that. All it says is get the crowd to vote for you. by dancing. So as dancers, I think you have to understand that and lean into that. There's plenty of things, like I said, I might make some content that's like about the intricacies of this, but there's so many things that you can do that people weren't doing. For example, the crowd's opinion of you begins the minute you walk onto the stage. We're not used to that because the judge's judgment of you doesn't begin. It shouldn't really begin the moment you walk onto the stage. It's analyzing the content of your round, not how you walk onto the stage. That shouldn't, if you walk onto the stage looking at the floor, I'm not going to take points off as a judge. I'm going to wait for your round and judge your round. The crowd are either going to like you more or dislike you, depending on how you act before, during, and after your rounds or your battle. So if you jump on stage with like energy and you're high-fiving people and you're whatever, that actually counts towards your win because you're already impressing the crowd. And people were thinking of it like a dance battle, and they were going, I'm only going to impress the crowd in my round, and after it I'm just going to go back to having a dead face and whatever. And it's like, you can, right up until they say 3, 2, 1 crowd vote, you can still be influencing their decision, and nowhere does it say that you can't be doing that. You know, as long as you're on that stage and I'm looking at you, I'm building my opinion of you, right? So, and obviously you would hope that the crowd would be as fair as possible, but they're not gonna be. They're a crowd. They're not qualified judges. Even qualified judges in the battle scene aren't fair. So there's no way we're getting it from just some guy, just some plumber named Dave who showed up. Like, we're not getting him to judge it fairly like a high level trained judge, you know? So, I think the dancers, first of all, have to understand that and lean into it more. If you're going to enter dancer style, you have to understand that the name of the game and the reason you're there is to get the crowd on your side, and that's it. When you're training for it, when you're practicing, when you're creating moves, will the crowd react to this or will they not? Don't give me like intricate historical steps that are going to impress a judge. Give me what will the crowd connect to. Like I said, I'm going to go into more depth of that when I make the content that I'm going to make, but there's loads of ways to do that. The other thing is, as audience members, you enjoy it way more. I'm specifically talking because obviously I think this is a bit more my audience, but it's like the battlers or the people that enter or watch or engage with with battles. If you watch Dance Your Style, you have to watch it as a crowd-pleasing entertainment competition. That's what it is. It's who can be more entertaining. It's not who can be a better dancer in the textbook definition of it. And when you separate that skill and just put it by itself, it becomes something different. And I think, actually, I've said this before, I think it's a really important skill, and it highlights people that are very weak at it. Like, some people get destroyed on the Dance Your Style stage, regardless of world or qualifiers. They get destroyed because they have never tried to be entertaining in their life. And that's a problem. Like, if you're a dancer, you can be really good and you can be really strong and you can be really technical, but we get so used to the fucking judges that we're not used to entertaining a crowd at all. And it's become really fucking boring in places, some of the battles, you know? And I'm sure, if we're being honest, we can all think of battles that were just boring as shit. But, oh yeah, no, but their technique was so good. Wow, these are masters of their craft. Cool. But I'm bored, man. Like, and I think Dance Your Style is the extreme version of that. It pushes it right to the limit where it's like, all right, now it's like the opposite end of I'm bored and you're both technicians. It's the like, all right, you're trying too hard to get my thing and you're also not doing anything of substance, and it's a bit too much in that realm sometimes, because some dancers don't know how to balance. There are some dancers, Rufina Liu was one of them, who balance, and obviously we can get onto MT Pop because he won, but who balance the entertainment with good dance. And when you have that great mix, chef's kiss. It's just gorgeous. And as long as an audience member you can let go of trying to judge the battles like a judge would judge the battles, you can really enjoy them. And I found myself getting really into some of the battles, and it was just fun. And if you've ever been at an event with me, or if you ever see me at an event and I'm not working, watch my reactions, because you won't see any, right? I'm the problem. Like when we talk about English crowds or London crowds being dead, I'm one of them. I just stand. Unless you really make me react, I don't react. Right? I just kind of stand there. Oh, that was cool. It's a mixture of things. I'm often tired when I get to events. They're often long and shit. I'm also a bit older now. So I'm just like, why am I sitting cross-legged on the floor for this long? And also I've seen a lot. I've been dancing for 18 years almost, and I've traveled a lot, and I've seen some of the world's best dancers for the last 18 years. So it takes a little bit more to get me reacting. However, I found myself reacting a lot and jumping up and shouting and stuff at Dance Your Style because I was like, oh, they're just tapping into this thing that gets the crowd off, and it's working on me. So it's really interesting because it's like, if you let yourself, you can, as a purist, you can let yourself go and enjoy Dance Your Style for what it is. For people that don't know dance, it's also amazing for them because it's really accessible. It's really great to watch. And the good thing about these dances, you know, having MT Pop, having Rubik's, having Ivy, having Junior Sniper, like all of these people who are real fucking gangsters in the style that they do, is that my mum or my auntie could discover the popping scene because now she knows who MT Pop is because he did a really cool round on ABBA or whatever, you know? Or it's like they might be like, oh, who's that guy that spun the hat on his finger? I want to watch more of his battles. Next thing I know, my mum's watching fucking Junior Sniper and Crump battles in France. And it's like, that's the beauty of stuff like this, is like, it's not a replacement for what we do, but it's an access point, or it can be an entry point or an access point. And I think that's why it's really important, is as long as we still have real battlers, let's say if I'm talking from a battle scene perspective and I'm talking with the interests of the battle scene at heart, which I am, if we still have real battlers in this, and that's still the majority, it means that that's going to grow our scene. It means more people are going to access, you know, for every 100 people that watch Dance Your Style and see MT Pop, maybe 5 of them are going to go and join the popping scene because of him. But that's 5 more than would have joined from like an underground battle that, like anyone that's at these underground battles are already dancers. You're not getting some random kid or a random grandma or, you know, that like coming to these underground battles, but you do it Dance Your Style. So I think that's why it's also important, you know, as an access point, but it can be really enjoyable if you let yourself go. I don't know how the rounds translate to a live stream. I need to watch it back because the venue was sick. Like the atmosphere was dope. It was like up there with some of the better battles in terms of atmosphere. It's up there with some of the better battles that I've ever been to. The dance is obviously, like I said, it is what it is. MT Pop surprised me, and I'll tell you why. Because, or not surprised me, like he did well. I didn't know if he was going to win because he wasn't playing into the crowd pleasing I was actually more surprised by the crowd than I was by MT Pop. He wasn't playing into the crowd pleasing stuff as much as he could have. And I'm not only talking about his dance. Like obviously he didn't do any flips or any crazy stuff, right? But he also did some things where he was battling like a real battler. Like he's facing his opponent and only facing his opponent. And he's doing tuts and stuff, facing them. And I was a bit like, there was moments when he has his back to the audience. And I was like, if he's not careful, he's going to lose because most people here can't see what he's doing and they're not used to things being, like as battlers, we're used to things being side on. So we're used to doing a bit more work to view these things because we know that's what the format is. But with these dances, it's like the audience could be like, why aren't you showing it to me? Like almost subconsciously, you know, like why is this not performed to me? Like I don't connect with you as much. And MT Pop was kind of doing that. Like he wasn't at some points like connecting with the audience. So when he got the wins, I was like, oh, okay. The audience are like, yeah, they're actually picking up on some real shit here, which is really cool. There was a few, I have to talk about this. There was a few moments where some of the dancers showed some real integrity, and it was really, really nice to see on a stage that isn't like an underground dance battle where they could have just gone with the what was happening, you know. So the first thing was the D Soraki against Rubik's. They battled, and at the end of the battle, like they showed the obviously they have like red or blue lights, and you have to put your red or blue lights up. It's on a wristband, and they showed the thing. And so let's say Rubik's was red and D Soraki was blue. All of the dance, pretty much the whole stage, the dancers who were on the stage is the dancers, basically. So these are kind of people that know a bit more, let's say. They all voted for Rubik's. And in the crowd, it was a lot more split. It was close, but it did look a little bit like it was going towards Rubik's. Now, they have this thing where in Dance Your Style where they say, the host said that there's like AI that calculates how many, or like it calculates how much of the crowd have voted one way or another. I don't know what that tool is or how it works. I can't say I have 100% faith in that tool being accurate, but yeah, that's all I'll say on that. So and then the hosts get told in their ear what the AI has apparently told the people backstage, right? So then they called, one more round for Rubik's and D Soraki. And D Soraki is kind of looking around with his hand. He's like this, and he's like, what? Like, it was, you know, and he's like pointing at Rubik's, like, no, like he's saying, no, he took it. So they say one more round, and he's like, so he does like basically half a round. And at the end of the round, he kind of stops and just like points at Rubik's like, nah, he won this, and like shakes his hand and then goes back. And then obviously because he didn't give as much of a round and he really like gave it up for Rubik's, like the crowd voted and then Rubik's won. So I think that was really nice from D Soraki to like recognize that and to not use that extra round as a chance to try and win. Because he could have gone, I think Rubik's won those first 2 rounds and the crowd think it, but now that they've given me an extra round, I'm going to go for his head. And he didn't. He did a soft round and just said, you know what, forget it. He won. Then back to this AI situation, the next round, I think this was the semis. They had T from India against MC Pop. Similar thing happens. The AI in the backstage says one more round. As they're calculating, so the hosts are saying, we're calculating to see who the winner is, blah, blah. And we're looking around and it pretty looks like, again, very split. However, looks, I would say, slightly more to MT Pop. Not only that, everyone on stage is voting for MT Pop, basically. A large percentage of the dancers on stage are voting for MT Pop. And the crowd is chanting, MT Pop, MT. The whole crowd is going, MT Pop. Obviously not the whole crowd, but like a lot. It was very loud, right? And they go, one more round. Again. And T walks up. Bearing in mind, T is in his home country. He is on one of the biggest stages he's probably ever been on in his life, with the stakes to be in the finals in his home country where everyone loves him and he's on a winning streak. He takes the mic from the host, which no one else has done. It happens a lot in smaller battles, but no one's done it like this type of event, and says, yo, guys, respect, but he definitely won that battle. And then he goes over and shakes MT Pop's hand. And the crowd are like on their feet cheering. And I think it was really, really, really dope of him to do that, man. Like it was a close battle, but to like recognize, and it wasn't like being like, he didn't bow out because he was scared or anything like that. Like he was giving it to MT Pop. It was like a good battle, but he could hear the crowd and he could see the lights and he was like, nah, like I'm not, for whatever reason this AI situation is saying one more round. No, I'm not having that. I want the person that won this battle fair and square to, which we all kind of see, to be in the finals. And I think that was really dope. He put himself second at a time when he really didn't have to and could have gotten away with not doing it. He's in his home country. Like the crowd weren't going to boo him if he had won that. Do you know what I mean? If that was anyone else, they might have, but even if he had won that, they're going to be on his side. They were cheering for him the whole day, you know. In the pre-finals, the minute T walked onto the stage, the crowd were screaming, like they stood up. Ah! So he definitely could have got away with not, doing that, but he did, and I have a lot of respect for him for that, and I think it's really dope, and it shows that he cares more about the art and the art of dance and the art of competition more than he cares about any one prize or any one win, which I think, is a really big moment and a really good thing, and I think that should be recognized. So shout out to T. And then the finals, obviously MT Pop and Rubik's. I think it could have gone either way. It was very close. I was surprised. I thought it was going to go maybe to Rubik's. I think he's who I thought the crowd would like more. He's not necessarily who I would have liked more, but he's who I thought the crowd would have liked more because he does like big athletic stuff. He killed it. Like he had a move for every round. That's like his type of event. I hope he goes back because Rubik's was really like on form in that event. But yeah, MT Pop did his thing. I don't know. Not that I was surprised, but like he did some real technique stuff. He wasn't doing any tricks. He was just popping with some funny stuff, and he was being MT Pop. But he didn't. He's one of the only dancers that didn't really change his dance too much. A little bit, but not to the extent that some of the other dancers did. So yeah, it was really interesting to see, and it was really cool. I'm really happy for MT Pop. He's a really fucking nice guy, really genuine person, and I'm happy to see him winning on Summer Dance stage. I'm happy to see him winning underground shit. I'm happy to see him winning Dance Your Style. I love that he's really like the guy right now. It's definitely the year of MT Pop. He's the I think he's the like Salah of this generation. I spoke about that on a podcast that's yet to come out, but he's the shit. He's really dope, man. So yeah, anything else on the world finals? I mean, they announced that it's in LA next year. That's really sick. I think that's a great place for it. I hope they get a lot of dancers from the States going to the camp and going to enter all those battles and stuff like that. I think Dance Your Style is really cool. I think the thing is, it's a young event, right? It's only I'm assuming, I think it's only like 6 years in or something. It's not much more than that. If it is more than that, it might be less. And I think it's disproportionately huge for how young it is, right? BC1 is smaller, but BC1's been going for 20 years. So by the time it got to the size that it is now, it had a lot of practice and they've had a lot of learnings from it. And I think, say with Dance Your Style, it's like, I still think, it's kind of funny to say this based on the size of it, but like I still think it's got a lot of potential. Like I think it's going to grow into something more. I just think it's got the form of a huge event at the moment. It's like in the body of a grown up, but it's a kid still, So I think that's why I think there's still room for it to grow and to change, and for, how big do they push the audience, or do they keep the audience at the size that it is and like go for some authenticity points and change the music a bit more? And like, I don't know, like if you had some real good like commercial hip hop stuff in there, like, there's events like, like these hip hop festivals and stuff that gain loads of people. Like is a huge audience that listen to like, I don't know, obviously like Drake, Kendrick, people like that. There's huge audiences that listen to them. If you look at the Super Bowl, like when 50 Cent, Eminem, Dre, those guys did the Super Bowl, that was huge. Like there was no one that was going, oh, who are these guys, right? So it's like, why can't you have that type of music on the Dance Your Style stage? Because yes, you don't open up the demographic, but what you lose in the range of the demographic, what you lose in that, you gain in like authenticity for the people dancing. And I think that would be the most beautiful thing, is if we could find a happy middle where Red Bull unlock the in the same way that I think they've done a lot for breaking, but unlocked the kind of key to like bringing more people into the dance scene and showing them something authentic. Because at the moment they have a lot of people coming in to see the dance scene and the battle scene. However, they're not getting the most authentic version of it on stage. And that's, like I said, on one hand, that's totally fine. And I think that it does produce some beautiful moments and it is lovely. However, I personally would love to see that, like a bit that just with the music, the format can stay the same. The crowd pleasing aspect is always going to be there. The entertainment aspect is always going to be there. But like, there's a difference between, you know, like doing that on ABBA or doing it on a bit more of a like hip hop song. And, you know, I know you want it to be inclusive, but this whole, a lot of what we're doing here started from hip hop. So it would be good to have a little bit more of an injection of that into the event for me personally. But I'm very biased. I'm coming from one particular viewpoint. I don't know that I should get my mum on the podcast and ask her about all this stuff, but I don't know that my mum would give a shit about whether it's ABBA. Like, she might like it more because it's ABBA, you know. Or maybe she'd like having a window into this culture, you know. I don't know. I'll go ask my mum for you. But yeah, I mean, yeah, overall I had a great time. I don't really have a lot of negative stuff to say about the event, to be honest. And you know me, I will say it if I feel it. But like, format, I think is young and can grow. And I'm specifically talking about the World Finals here, but event-wise, like if we're just talking about events, listen, these people are some of the best in the world at what they do. And we can talk about like the music, we can talk about the host, we can talk about the dancers, we can talk about the art of it. But event-wise, it was fucking amazing. Like from start to finish, the whole camp, like the from the Tuesday till the Saturday, the amount of logistics that go into an event like that are unbelievable. The amount of teams that have to coordinate, you have no fucking idea unless you've worked on an event like that, how hard it is and how good these people are at what they do. And I have some little inkling. I've worked on some big events. I studied events. I've run my own. And I have some understanding of what these people do, and they're really good at what they do. And their job is kind of like, you know, it's like if they do their job right, you shouldn't know that their job exists, if that makes sense. Things just happen, and you don't know that there's a person that made that thing happen or made sure that that thing didn't happen. But yeah, so I just want to shout out to the staff at the World Finals. I mean, Red Bull India did a great job. The hospitality was fucking fantastic. The Red Bull HQ, the global team, did such a good job of coordinating everyone, pulling off an event that was like accessible for everyone, even if you didn't speak English, even if you were from a different country, whatever. And obviously creating an environment, even though we're in India, it was still, you know, you had the things that you weren't going out of your way to be like, oh, where could I eat? Or how could I get to this place? Or like everything was taken care of, you know? And it's like when you only have a week in a place, you don't have time to like adjust to the customs. When you're not there to travel and experience the culture, in essence, you're there to do the event, to battle, to judge, to whatever. So yeah, they did a great job. And yeah, obviously shout out to Red Bull UK, because the guys came with me, or I came with them more specifically, and they were just a pleasure to travel with and really nice people. And yeah, I think, you know, I had said this when I was talking about the BC1 situation that happened in the UK Cypher, but as much, and it's the more I meet people, the more I speak, it's like there are so many people behind these events that care about dance. Like, the end product is one thing, but the people behind it are another thing. And it's like, maybe I'm being naive and I'm always the like optimist, and you know, maybe that's a flaw, or maybe it's a good thing, I don't know. But I think there's always a chance to like to appeal to these people and talk to them and for them to change and understand. Just because the world final, and obviously we see the brand of Red Bull, I said that on the other podcast as well, and we see the brand of Nike, or we see the brand of whatever, and we like, oh, they're never going to listen to us. But I think they do if if you approach it in the right way. We have conversations, give it time as well. These things take a lot of time to adjust and to build, and I think we can find these happy mediums, because like every time I go to, I'm not only talking about Red Bull, I'm talking about like all these venues, I'm talking about these brands, I'm talking about these organizations that I have contact with or I speak to. There are sometimes when I go to the, certain places and I go behind the scenes and I get annoyed because I'm like, none of these people give a fucking shit about the thing that they're doing, and nobody knows it because they just put on this face, or they put on the brand goes over the front, not the brand of like, I'm talking about like, it could be a theater, but like, you think, oh, because they're an arts theatre, they care about the dance, and they actually don't give a shit. They just want to make money, or they just are old or whatever. But there are a lot of places. A lot of the experience I have with Red Bull so far is that I obviously spoke very highly of Nike when we were working with them, and specifically the team I worked with. But there are individuals and there are people who do care, and those people have power. And so I still have faith that things will go in the right direction as long as we keep the conversations open. If we want things that are done right for a certain community, we have to be vocal and we have to talk to them in a nice way and have conversations. And the more conversations that happen, the more I have faith that things are going to progress in a good way. So, and vice versa, the more we withdraw, the more people are going to keep doing what they do anyway, but we're not going to have a say in it. We're not going to have any communication with those people. So I think, obviously, I have a fucking podcast, but the communication and, communication is just important. And I think that's why I've just talked for like an hour and a half about this, because it's like I could make a tweet or a thread about my thoughts, and it could be any one sentence from this pod could be pulled out and made to look bad. But it's like, hopefully if you listen for an hour and a half, you see my real thoughts. And I think that's why it's important to talk with people for extended times, because, it doesn't have to be a podcast. I'm just saying in general, when you talk to people, if you just say something, or if you just leave an Insta story, or you just whatever, or even if you don't talk to them at all, you don't get the chance to be understood. And I think the more we explain ourselves at length and have long conversations with people, that doesn't only have to be people in positions of power or people in positions of influence. It can just be with each other. It really goes a long way. So anyway, that's my parting message to you all. But I'm sure I have more thoughts on Dance Your Style. I'm sure I have more thoughts on India, but this is what I could fit into an hour and a half. I'm going to send this podcast to anyone that writes me and says, how was India? It's like, listen to this and then you'll know. But yeah, I mean, share with me your thoughts. I would love to hear your feedback on Dance Your Style. Like, you can write in the comments. Spotify has comments now as well, guys, so feel free to write on there. But on YouTube, definitely write in the comments. And give me your thoughts on Dance Your Style. I know some people don't like it, and I recognize that. And some people are really against it. Some people just, it's not for them. Some people love it. Some people love it but would never dance in it. Some people want to dance in it but would never watch it. I don't know. Give me your thoughts. Who are you? Which camp are you in? What do you think? This is another thing. What do you think Dance Your Style could do to improve? And what have they got right? What's your favorite parts of the event? Give me some feedback on Dance Your Style in general. I mean, I can potentially pass it on to the people, especially in the UK, but also just for me, it's just an interesting learnings of like what the scene likes and doesn't like. But yeah, I'll wrap it up there for today. Hope you guys have enjoyed my offload. I feel like when I'm doing these ones by myself, I feel like, in like The Martian or those movies where they're doing like they're like trapped on another planet, and every day they're just like, they're growing a beard longer and longer, and they're just talking to the camera being like, day 62, here's how I feel, or whatever. That's kind of what I feel like when I'm doing these video log, day 62 in the dance scene. But yeah, I mean, I always say this, but I just want to, the people that were like for people to come up to me at the World Finals in India and be like, oh, I listen to your podcast. Like people from India, people from like Australia, people from all different countries, even people that work at Red Bull, like, oh, I listen to your podcast. Like it's crazy. Or like, we seen your videos, we know your page. Like, yeah, it just really sent me home with like a crazy motivation to keep pushing the capsule because, yeah, it's just like, I don't know, man. There's some, like, when you look at the numbers, when you look at the insights or whatever, it doesn't do justice to like people coming up to you and saying like something that they enjoyed, So just shout out to everyone that tunes in. Love you, my loyal listeners. You guys are great. I really, 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 really appreciate everyone that tunes in and listens and shares the podcast with each other and whatever. So, yeah, thank you to you guys for listening. You guys are the reason that this podcast and this platform can keep going. So I will never stop thanking you. Shout out to Red Bull once again, UK, global. Shout out to all the dancers. You were all amazing. There was no one that disappointed me. All 48 people plus the wild cards were all sick. MT Pop, you're the fucking man. Rubik's, you almost got him. I was with you till the end, bro. I thought you had him. And yeah, tune in next week. We're gonna be another little announcement. We'll have some interviews coming out. We're gearing up for our 200th episode. We got a fun one in there for you. So yeah, catch you then, guys. Peace.